Okay, so we're diving into Radclyffe Hall's The Well of Loneliness. It's a book with a reputation, right? Still gets people talking, even now. But putting aside the controversy for a sec, at its heart, it's Stephen's story. We're really going deep into her world, her emotions, using the actual text as our guide.
And it's that personal journey that makes The Well of Loneliness more than just a story. It's almost a century old, but the stuff Stephen deals with, societal pressure, identity, it's all still so relevant.
100%. Okay, so picture this. You're just starting the book, meeting Stephen as a child at Morton, her family's estate. Hall doesn't hold back. You immediately get these vivid scenes. Stephen drowning in frilly dresses, finding comfort with her dad, but that real sense of freedom, only when she's on Raftery, her horse.
It's interesting you mentioned Raftery because even early on, there's this thing with nature being like a safe space for Stephen. Remember how she's most comfortable in breeches, muddy after riding? Almost like she can only be herself when she's away from all the expectations from family, from society.
And those expectations.
Yeah.
Already so heavy, even for a child. That small detail, Stephen pretending to be Nelson, the hero, is like she's pushing back against those gender roles before she even gets them.
Exactly. That one detail speaks volumes, that sense of self being there from such a young age, but clashing with what the world wants from you. And as Stephen grows up, that conflict, it only gets worse. Think about her mom, Anna, confessing her fear, her discomfort to her husband, about their own daughter. Talk about a punch to the gut.
Ugh. It's like every interaction between Stephen and her mom has this tension, this fear of disappointing the people who are supposed to love you no matter what.
Right. And that unspoken stuff, that's key to understanding what's going on inside Stephen. It's not always outright rejection. It's this constant pressure to fit in, be someone she's not.
And then you've got her dad trying to fix her. You can tell he loves her, but those attempts just show how little anyone around her truly gets it.
And that's where Hall nails it, showing the blind spots of that time. It's not always cruelty, but this lack of understanding, it isolates Stephen even more. Makes Morton feel less like a home, more like a gilded cage.
It's like she carries that with her, that isolation, even as an adult, even when she starts to experience love. Angela Crosby talk about intense, passionate, but it falls apart, leaves Stephen even more lost.
That's huge, that relationship, because it lays bare all the pressure Stephen's dealing with from society. Don't forget, back then, same-sex relationships. Not just looked down on, they were dangerous.
Yeah, it's bigger than Stephen finding peace within herself.
Yeah.
She's got to deal with a whole world that wants to keep her love hidden.
Exactly. And then along comes Mary Llewellyn. At first, it's bonding over the war, right? Shared experience. But it becomes so much deeper, the way Hall writes it. That tenderness, the struggles they share. Being two women in love back then. It's powerful stuff.
That scene with the pearl ring got to me. That might seem like a small thing, but remember her father saying only the purest stones were good enough for her mother's finger. Gives it a whole other meaning, doesn't it?
Right. You're thinking, is Stephen looking for her dad's approval somehow? Even as she builds this life with Mary, defying everything. Or maybe it's about taking back that idea of purity for herself and her love, no matter what anyone else says.
So much to think about. But through all this, Stephen's work is her rock. Writing it first, then driving an ambulance during the war, like she's pouring her own pain into something bigger.
100%. All that dedication, especially when her own life is so hard, like she finds a purpose, a belonging in helping others, even when her own place in the world is always being questioned.
But the pressure never really goes away. Her mother finding those letters to Angela, just heartbreaking. It's like a mother's love, weaponized.
That scene with Anna, it changes everything. Stephen has to choose live a lie, keep everyone happy, or be honest and face whatever comes next. She chooses herself, even if it means leaving her family, leaving everything she knows behind.
And that's when she really starts building a life on her terms. Paris, then that house by the sea with Mary, those places, they become their escape from all the judgment.
Right, you feel like it's a haven, where they can be themselves, no scrutiny. But it's not perfect. Hall's honest about that. Even in their chosen community, there are still challenges.
That awkward scene at the wedding, Jean and Adele's. Like a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Even when people seem accepting, those prejudices run deep.
Exactly. That's how ingrained it all is. Those societal norms, they get everywhere, even the most intimate spaces. It shows how far we still have to go for real acceptance, even within marginalized communities themselves.
And it's not just those big societal walls, even within that world, people living outside the lines. Stephen finds community, but also complications. Like that scene at Alex's bar.
Yeah.
Bleak, yeah, but you feel this shared understanding, being different in a world that doesn't get it.
It's like a microcosm, shows you it's not just one experience being part of a marginalized group. You see joy, despair, all of it. And even there, Stephen runs into prejudice, judgment.
It's like there's no escaping it. Even with Mary, there's so much loss, betrayal, Jamie and Barbara's story, the whole thing with Martin. Makes you wonder, can love really survive in a world dead set against it?
That's the question, isn't it? Hall doesn't make it easy. The ending of The Well of Loneliness, it's not simple. You got Stephen hurting but strong, choosing herself, but there's this lingering loneliness, a reminder of what it costs to go against the grain.
So, what now? It's been almost 100 years. Where do we stand?
I think Hall's asking us that. Have we actually moved forward? Can love like Stephen's be a source of strength now? Not isolation. The Well of Loneliness. It's not about answers, it's about holding up that mirror, making us look at our own biases,
It stays with you, that's for sure. And you think, what can we do in our own little corners of the world to make it easier, to make people feel seen, no matter who they love, how they identify?
Those are the questions I hope people take away from this book. It's a reminder that the fight for love, acceptance, the freedom to be who you are, it matters.
Yeah. It's bigger than the book, that's for sure. It's about facing hard truths, challenging the way things are, and maybe, just maybe, those conversations, they're how we build a world where stories like Stephen's, they're met with open arms, not closed minds. Where it's not you're different, it's you're not alone.
Thank you for listening. Please subscribe for more videos like this.